company told him, look, what you are asking us is physically, it's not possible. Physically not. Physics is against it. We cannot do it. Then he started to build up his own team of engineers, not coming from aeronautics industry, not coming from airplane industry, but just good engineers. And I think you might have heard about the program. He achieved it. He built an airplane which could fly around to it in electric. And then he told me that the reason why he was able to do it, the secret behind this, that his engineers didn't know that it was not possible. His engineers didn't know that it was not possible. So he drove the boundaries. But from a physical standpoint, I think the guy is right. It might be difficult to create a 747 with electric power. But if you look at it from a different perspective, flying drones, flying taxis, this might solve a lot of problems, because autonomy in this area is way more easy than to do it on the ground. Yeah? Autonomy with flying drones you can do today. This is technically not a challenge at all. The technology is coming up, the cost is a bit too high. People cannot think about it because they think about security and safety and all those things and air traffic regulations. But I definitely see that this might be an area to improve. I cannot say that we have real plans to step into this area because we want to be a bit modest and focus on what we have to do first. But from a vision perspective, I definitely see something like this coming.
Thank you so much so far. Now I leave the floor open. Other questions from the audience? Please, just say your name and the question.
Jon Winding Sørsnet, yeah. You're all talking about innovation, but I'd like to hear something about innovation on a much more boring scale: marketing, sales, distribution. How do you plan to connect with the end customer, whoever that might be, and maintain that connection?
Mm-hmm. So in today's world, it's kind of easy because you can have very different touch points, starting from face-to-face to online communication. We are establishing already not a customer interaction center, we call it a customer experience center. We just launched our co-creation group, where we invite our fans and already customers, which we placed a reservation, to participate and to join us for brainstorming events and content development. So I think the entire communication in today's world is quite easy. When it comes to the sales, again, we are having a white sheet of paper, and of course we are not establishing a dealer infrastructure, because dealing cars is not fun, right? It's always an unpleasant experience, and so this is what we are not going to do. So this is why Byton will apply a direct sales model, which means that our contract is between you and Byton directly. So I do know you. So it's not just that the dealer knows you, I do know you. So I know what are your preferences. You can share with me what are your, especially online products and services you would like to experience in the future. So, and so this is why we apply this direct sales model, which is not only allowing us to get to know our customers, it's also making sure that we don't create any kind of inter-brand competition. And that's also the reason why we will be able to offer the product on a completely different price model. Because when you look at the car industry so far, where it's established, where the dealer bodies in between, there you have a high share of so-called cost of retail. And this is reflected in the price tag. And this is what we are going to take out. And this is how we are going to retail our cars in the future. So via retail partners based on an agency model, but the legal contract is between customer and Byton directly.
So what you're saying is today's distribution cost, if that represents, say, 30% of the end price, you're talking about 10%, or?
I think this kind of percentage comparison is quite realistic. What's currently out there in the market, especially in the United States, you are in this area, and the target figure is quite realistic.
Okay, there was one more question here. That was you, eh?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Robin from Germany. I'm doing a YouTube channel about electromobility, try to improve the attention on electromobility also in Germany. And you talked about sharing economy is super important in the future. Actually, I bought a Tesla, but I cannot afford it, so I also give it for rent, so people can rent it. So I'm also doing kind of a sharing to have electric car to show it to my audience. And also I make some surveys on my audience, and they say to me like, how can you share your car? It's so, maybe they don't take care about it. You have such an expensive car. And actually the last guy who rented my car scratched my rims. That's a very actual problem I have. So you have some ideas how to change maybe the mindset, or you have some other ideas how to improve that opinion about sharing this property? Or you think you don't have to share your property, maybe you're offering it as a company? Is that maybe the solution, or what do you have here?
Yeah, so private customers as well as companies running those shared mobility concepts are our audience. And I think based on all the dialogues with them, I do foresee development that it's first of all reflected in point systems. So those people which are, for example, are not behaving quite serious with others' property will get bad points, and then it will be reflected in the future, and maybe your friend will not get your Tesla in the near future, and then maybe this person will change his behavior. So again, you can apply this in many areas where a direct behavior will be reflected, and with a good behavior you get better points, and with better points you get better rates. And usually better rates are having a great impact on human behavior. We all know that, right? Okay. So, and this is why with such a transparency, I think it's going to be quite easy. The most important thing is much more the mental aspect. In the past, it was very important to make your driver license yourself and to own a product yourself. And the reason why we are having this business model, saying our car might be a private customer or might it be a fleet operator, so a fleet customer doing share mobility services. In all areas we are competitive because we have a direct sales approach, and this on a very competitive price level, and this will generate the pull. So we don't go to the high price level and have to push the product into the market. It's the other trigger, because who knows how high is going to be the share of shared mobility. I just know how convenient it is, and I feel much more comfortable working in a company which is sustainable and profitable, even if the share of shared mobility is going to ramp up quite dramatically over the next 10 years, which I do foresee personally.
Yeah, I also love this economy. I love it very much, and I totally believe in it. But then you see the bike sharing companies. The bikes are all over the city. They are hanging on the lamp somewhere, or people make crazy stuff with it.
Is that the
so
question?
something. What?
Is that the question?
Observation.
Yeah, and also
this is why Autolib just closed.
Okay.
I have if I can make comment on this, I have a more fundamental view on this. I think shared behavior, if you want, or shared societies, they have to develop over time. But they will develop. It's an example completely different. You might think it's crazy, but if you go for dinner in Germany, and I think it might be the same in Norway, everybody ordered something for himself and he's taking his dinner. If you go to dinner in China, this will never happen. It's all the time shared. You sit in a big table, turning around, and there are a lot of things on the table, and it is shared. And if you now look to the behavior, if in Germany you would try this approach, put something on the table, people are very hungry, this might not result very pleasantly. if you look at whatever dinner in China, having people around the table, this is very cultivated, very cultivated. Might be the fact it is due to transparency, because everybody sees what's going to happen, but they developed this culture. Yeah? Eating, dining in China is shared culture. So over time, we might expect that people, if societies adapt to the idea of sharing, and they have to, because we cannot go on like this, then this culture might develop over time, and transparency will all the time help, without any doubt.
Thank you.
We have one more question from the lady in the back.
My name is Pia Stoltz. I'm from the magazine Motor here in Norway. I wonder, how do you think the Chinese car production will affect the international car market?
For now, as by today, it's not so much affecting the international market. It's a big market. It's the biggest market in the world, more than 30 million cars a year. But up to now, at least when it comes to conventional cars, the Chinese companies were following, but they didn't make it to the world premium level. But First of all, they are closed today. But second, giving electric powertrains, given connected cars, focusing on ecosystems and connectivity and not so much more on refinement of gasoline powertrains, the game starts to begin from zero. So now everybody starts again. And I think the Chinese absolutely understood, the Chinese government absolutely understood that it's a big chance to go ahead now of the others, to take advantage. So, and I do hard to say this as an engineer, as a German engineer, as somebody who worked 20 years for BMW, I think, and I deeply believe, the future of mobility and the future of, even if you want, car industry will be shaped in China.
Is that why you took a job?
To some degree, yes.
Yeah, we have two more questions here, like you first.
Fredrik Dietz from Swedish magazine Bilägare. I just wonder, what's your view on automated driving in winter conditions? I mean, this is good weather now, but half of the year it's ice, snow, dirt covering the road lines, covering sensors. How will you handle that? Will it work in winter times?
This is one of the most interesting questions in the whole autonomy discussion, because this is the most of the discussion is very superficial. People talk about when are we going to see level 4 systems. What do you mean by this? What do you mean? Do you mean a level 4 system which meets level 4 specifications all over the world, under every condition, at every time? This will never happen. I can tell you today, this will never happen. If you talk about will it work in specific areas, under specific conditions, maybe even under specific weather conditions, then this will definitely happen, and this one we are going to see in 2020. Now, you can build a system technically which can deal with ice, and technically you can solve most of those issues. But do you want it? Because it will create a lot of cost, it will be very expensive, and people will not afford it. Now, coming back to my thesis before, autonomous driving adds value to societies and not only to customers. To do so, we need certain volume. Think about the following logic. You can build a level 4 driving system today, if you want. More or less perfect, using Google technology, $50,000 a car. Take this car and put it to the middle of Beijing. This car will never move. It will never move because all the other cars are driving around it, and it has to be programmed in a very defensive, conservative way. It will just stand in the middle of Beijing. If you put 10% of the cars of Beijing in autonomous mode and they communicate maybe, then the whole thing will start. And with 50% it might be good. So the secret behind is find a technology which can scale to volume fast. And this at the end of the day we might see level 3.8 systems which work in specific areas which are well defined, good data, very good connectivity, and the system might tell you under certain weather conditions, I'm not going to work. As long as it can work under 80% or 90% of the conditions, we might accept this due to the fact that this technology can scale and can become volume technology.
But what about dirty winter conditions? Will it work?
This is one of the easier things because you just have to install something to clean your sensors, to heat them and to clean. This technology is available.
Will it be wipers on the sensors? Or?
Maybe not wipers.
How will you do that?
You just splash a bit.
Air?
Rid of hot water, these sort of things.
We have one more. You have a follow-up question, sir? No? I'm looking at you. No. Yeah. You had a question, or?
Yeah, sure. Because I'd like to hear a bit more about your future funding plans. Because the latest round, it was a car manufacturer, it was a battery manufacturer putting money into Europe. I would think that kind of investments limited your field of action in some way. You can't buy batteries everywhere now, can you?
First of all, we can.
Okay.
The investment of CATL doesn't mean that we have to buy from them.
Okay.
But if you look to China, China is a very specific environment. Yeah. First of all, it's all about being connected, knowing the right people, having influential people on board. And having FAW, the First Auto Works, as a partner is the best thing which can happen to a company in China. Because it is a state-owned company, this basically means the Chinese government is investing in your company. And if this is a fact, you will not, the risk for your company is basically zero. The reason that CATL invested is different. It's not that they want to limit us that we buy their cells. They want to learn together with us how future technology should develop. This is a strategic partnership. This is good for us because in China, you know, you have to buy battery cells from a supplier which is listed on a specific list. It's called whitelist. Only if you use these cells, you will be able to sell the cars and get subsidies. So this is a strategically very, very good move for us.
So where will the next $500 million come from?
Up to now, our investors are mainly, not only, but mainly Chinese. We raised 800 million from the capital market right now. Don't forget that we have got another close to, or a bit more than 800 million for our plant joint venture from the Nanjing government. The money we raise in capital market is only R&D. All what is needed for the plant is coming out of a different process with Nanjing. And we are going to plan a C-round funding beginning of next year, based on the milestone that the car will arrive to the plant. We will do the first production process, not prototype, but the target process. And in this round, we want to go a bit more international. This might mean a US, a Silicon Valley, and hopefully a bit of Europe. But to be honest, in Europe, not many people are prepared to invest in such early stage companies.
Are we still talking 500 to 800 million?
It might be this dimension.
Okay.
Okay, we have time for like suddenly a lot of arms flew up. Please, maybe
question.
3 questions, okay? Yeah, okay. Then you, and you, huh? There.
Okay, Richard Lamott, you've shown us a picture of the LiDARs on the side. They look like coffee mugs, I think. But
exactly.
And I suppose they were expensive as well. Is it possible to make an autonomous car level 4 without LiDARs, or is that a necessity?
This is yet beyond my competence. I'm just a car designer. My job is to integrate the technology.
Yeah.
So whether I'm able to disintegrate this technology is another take. But for the moment, this is like the only known solution. We could hope that probably like one day, like any technology, it gets even smaller. Maybe no longer optically based, but wave-based. I mean, we already have like some wave-based sensors. Again, the topic of autonomous driving, the way I look at it from a designer, is the orchestration from various sensors. And some of them, we know them already. For example, the radars, ACC sensors. These are like the ones that you can hide under the skin. Like they are like typically under the bumper skin or in the air intakes. This is a technology which is known. But again, autonomous driving commands the highest level possible of safety. This is like nearly airlines or aircraft industry. It has to be fail-safe in any case. That means you have to have like the redundancy, and this is what results actually in the addition of different systems together. But who knows? Let's be optimistic. It could turn to be, and for sure, will in a few decades or maybe years be smaller. But again, our agenda is the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We're not doing fantasy, and we have no time to do popular science. We live out of capital markets. So we'd rather deliver quick.
Okay. If I may add a technical perspective to it, answer to do a full spec level 4 system today, you definitely need LiDAR and laser technology. There's no way around it from today's perspective. But, as I said before, if you think a system without LiDARs, only with cameras and radar, maybe high-resolution stereo cameras, we might come close to it. You might be able to design a 3.8 system, which will not work under every condition, but which will be able to tell you if it is able to work or not. So when it works, it will be level 4, but it might tell you today, sorry, it's too wet or too dark or too much snow or whatever. Or my signal is not strong enough. I'm so sorry, I cannot work. This one we will see, and then you might not need LiDARs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. My name is Halvor Sebbe from the blog Elektrisk. The car you're showing today, how much is it a prototype and how much is it a production car?
It's what is standing outside is no production car at all. This is a prototype, and it is an early prototype. So it's a hand-built car. Not all the technology which you see in this car is target technology. It is created to to shape the product from a customer perspective. It is very close to the production car from the experience. The design is very close, the interior is very close, but if you look to technology which is built in and the process the car was built, it's far away from production.
But what will we not see? Will we see this big screen? And
no, this one you will see. We say the official statement is 85%. This is 85% of the production car. To transform this a bit into a bit more concrete things, the exterior design you might not see too many differences. If you're not a designer, you might not see too many differences. You will see the lights in a bit different positions due to homologation. From the interior, you will see the big screen, you will see the tablet, you will see the functionality we show here and more. So it's very close to what you can buy in definition.
Maybe adding to that, I can actually tell you that the car is very close. Or basically what you see is what you're gonna get. And as you said, Carsten, very little difference. When we developed that concept, basically that was the basis to develop the production car. So this is not an afterthought or anything like that. This is the car that was basically the basis to say, okay, from that we're gonna bring it street legal, like with of course safety requirements and all of that. But basically, like all the technical features that are in this car are the ones that you're gonna find back into the production car.
Okay, last question.
Yeah, as far as I understood, you're introducing in year 2020 with a level 3 system based on Bosch components. And then the year after, there'll be a level 4 option based on Aurora components. And why should people sign up for an early model now when the 1 year later will come in more on fast?
So I think we have to see how the legal environment is going to change by then, right? So because right now the reason why we're here, Norway is the largest EV market in Europe, and we are talking to customers who are looking for an alternative as an electric vehicle. The share of autonomous driving vehicles, we have to see how the legal development is going to take place, because you need a certain volume in order to operate the system. So let's assume that the legal environment will change dramatically in Norway. So all your politicians are saying, we are ready, we are coming, and the market is here, then we are the first ones who are going to integrate the system into our car. And then we might change even the launch sequence, but for now I do not foresee this, right? So that's the reason why we are going to launch in the second half of 2020. So that's when we are going to ramp up. And why are we doing this? Because we will go to all electric car markets which exist already. So, and this is why we are homologating the product right now, so that we are not engineering a car for China and start the development process after. So we are doing this in parallel. So based on the design reference, we are currently doing the homologation process. We're doing all the crash tests which are necessary for the US, for Europe, so that we are meeting the highest crash and safety standards. And then when it comes to the market potential, and when you are telling me there's so much market potential here, we do have already protected the relevant areas in the car where we can integrate the space for those lidars and sensors, because this is always the disadvantage. Once a car is being designed and homologated, to think, now I would like to integrate such a system on the roof, afterwards, tricky. But we do have the engineering set up where it's already reserved. We know it's going to come, but of course, when it comes to market potential, one-time investments, we have to see how far are the markets going to be by then. So I do foresee a regular EV market in Norway as of 2020, 2022, and how far it will take in terms of autonomous option package. It's an optional equipment the customers can order, we will see.
Okay, then I would like to thank the panel, Carsten, Henrik and Benoit, for sharing this with us. It has been really enlightening for me, and I hope it's for you too. So I think we give them a big hand, and then it's over.
Thank you for your inspiring questions.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can I ask you are in charge of the marketing?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I am.
Can you tell me how many cars you will deliver in Europe?